cave, so enormous that she looked like a bear. She threw a great bundle of sticks onto a fire that had been smouldering just outside the entrance, giving rise to a flurry of sparks. The fire reflected in the faces and the eyes of the two young warriors as they sought their next move. They wanted to gallop straight at the awful hag, but they dared not disobey the command of their lord. He couldn't have been clearer. Only if he fell were they allowed to come to his aid. They were not to attack unless his life was at risk, but they did draw closer, so they could see and hear whatever was about to ensue. When the giantess realized that a warrior with his unsheathed sword stood before her, and that two more warriors were close behind him, she let out a roar that dwindled slowly to a hoarse rasp. The two warriors were stunned to hear her voice begin to take on a human tone. "Hermundor," said one to the other, "she just said, 'Who are you?'" "You don't recognize me," said the prince, looking straight into the virago's eyes. Her face contorted, and the raw animal hides that only half covered her let off a disgusting stench. She gave out another roar and lifted her axe as she croaked again in Hermundor, "What do you want?" "Give me your prophecy," replied the silver-baldricked horseman as he swung his blade. Axe and sword met with a loud crash, and one of the two young warriors lunged forward, but his companion stopped him. "We promised. He has to fight her alone." The blows came fast and strong, blades clashing with violence. As the fighting grew harsher, the prince could hear that the frightening hag was beginning to groan. Certainly no one had come to challenge her for a very long time. The strength she had once been able to depend on was failing her, but her sheer size made her indomitable still. She lurched at her querent with a burning stick from the fire in one hand and her axe still in the other. He dodged her blows, twisted around, and rammed at her with all his might. She was thrown off balance, threw up her hands, and sank to the ground on her knees. He pushed the tip of his sword into the small of her throat. "The revelation!" he hissed. The virago resisted defeat. She shook her head, and her shaggy, tangled hair covered her face. "Don't you know me? Pronounce the prophecy for me now!" The Germanic oracle finally spoke, and the two young warriors sheathed their blades. They could hear the voice of the ogress, but they couldn't understand a word. They saw the tears of their lord, and heard a wailing first, then a long agonized shriek that echoed from the mountainsides. The silver-baldricked prince took his sword then and plunged it deep into the throat that had spoken, and the virago collapsed face down on the fire she herself had lit. She burned under the horrified eyes of the two warriors. When the prince turned towards them, his eyes were full of darkness. Part 1. Forest of the Kuruski, Germania, 3 BC. Chapter 1. Two boys running through the forest. Sparkles shot through their hair as they slipped in and out of shadow and met the sun, flashing gold. They flew, light as the wind that touched the fronds of the trees, light as the scent of resin that wafted among the giant firs. And they never hesitated, never slowed as obstacles appeared, not even for any of the giant forest creatures who might suddenly emerge, pure joy in their every movement. Wulf and Armin their names, noble their stock. The boys reached the top of the Hill of Echoes, just as the sun was flooding the great clearing. Armin stopped. "Listen." Wulf stopped as well. "What?" "The hammer. It's the hammer of Thor." Wulf listened hard. Deep bursts of thunder accompanied by pounding water and the endless echo of the same. "Are you trying to scare me?" "No, not yet." "Where's it coming from?" "From the right, behind the oak wood." "Shall we go?" "Yeah, but careful though, it's not really Thor's hammer." "What is it then?" "I told you, I'm going to show you the road that never ends." Armin motioned for his brother to follow as he began to move forward.